This city, this world, it's nothing but corruption. Everything that is just and innocent just dies away or is swept under the rug to make way for the high and mighty. But who? Who will fight for justice? Who can bring this world back from the brink? Everybody out there in YouTube land, Jake of the OneManBand is back again, bringing you guys a RWBY character breakdown. And this time we're going to be talking about one of my favorite characters. One of my favorite characters to think about and just watch. We're talking about Blake Belladonna, the Batman of RWBY. Now, when the series first started, Blake was that character that instantly caught everyone's eye, due to the fact that her trailer, the black trailer, was the first one to have actual spoken dialogue. And even though many people would argue that the dialogue spoken was, it was kind of bad or whatever have you, it still blew me away due to the fact that the previous two did not have dialogue, and you can tell a lot about a character from their voice and the way that they speak. And when Blake spoke, it just told me a lot about her character. So I guess you can say that Blake was honestly the first character that I hardcore started to break down when I first started to get into RWBY. And let me be the first to say that Blake's fighting style is probably one of the most beautiful and fun to watch. She is a dual-wielding fighter, something that I can gravely respect, due to the fact that in every RPG I have ever played, I have always gone to make my character a dual-wielding fighter. Or an archer. You know, one of those two. But this makes her altogether different than all of her other teammates. She uses two weapons, and I know that Yang uses two weapons, but essentially those are her fists. Blake uses two actual weapons that, in tandem, are extensions of herself. Her weapon, Gamble's Shroud, breaks into two distinct weapons. One being her sheath. That is her cornerstone of all of her fighting. Now, the sheath itself does not transform, at least at this point in the series. It may transform later on, but as of just up to Volume 2, it has not. Now, the sheath form of Gamble's Shroud is a sort of a broad bladed knife made to deal heavy damage and to block incoming attacks. It also doubles as a shield, if you would. Now, the actual sword portion of her weapon is the part of the weapon that does the most amount of offensive damage. She can slice, she can cut, and she can stab with this weapon. And it can actually transform into a pistol and also a flail that is hung on to by a ribbon that Blake has on her arms. And with this flail, she is able to use the momentum of pistol discharges to create bonus inertia to help attack enemies. Now, for as amazing and beautiful as Blake's weapon and fighting style is, it in fact has a downside. Both of her weapons, the Gamble's Shroud, sword, and sheath, do not really have any big power behind it. Sure, she can take out Beowulfs with one pistol shot. I'm pretty sure that pistol attached to her sword is the Halo 1 pistol. That is the only way to explain it. But when attacking enemies, she does not deal out a lot of damage with her attacks. She has to find weak points or take the enemy by surprise in order to deal out massive damage. She is very much a fast-paced, hit them as many times as you can form of fighter. She is very acrobatic in her way of fighting, flipping around her enemies or using her flail to take out multiple enemies as she dodges incoming attacks. And she is also able to get to places where her teammates cannot due to her added agility and her faunus blood. Now in Volume 1, Blake was very much that mysterious character that you were always thinking about because she distanced herself from everyone else. She was always the one back there reading the book, being the bookworm, you know, reading the ninjas of love and all that kind of stuff, you know, funny stuff like that. And she didn't really have much of a personality due to the fact that she reserved herself because, as we know in Volume 1, she was keeping a secret, and that secret was that she was faunus and formerly a part of the White Fang. She felt that if she got too close to anyone, that somehow her secret would slip and then the cat would be out of the bag. Quite literally. Now, it isn't until the very end of Volume 1 where Blake really comes out as a character and we get to learn a lot about her. And it is then that the series kind of takes a turn. It's really no longer about RWBY or Team RWBY in that matter. It's really about Blake. And Blake really takes the spotlight both in the last half, well, the last 2 episodes of Volume 1, and also all throughout Volume 2 if you really think about it. She's kind of the unsung protagonist if you think about it. But it is in these final episodes of Volume 1 that we, 1, learn that she is a faunus, and 2, learn that she was a member of the White Fang. We also learn that she still cares about the well-being and status of the White Fang, going as far as defending them in front of Weiss and trying to figure out if they are indeed behind the dust robberies at the time. Now here's something that we should really think about. Blake herself does not hate the White Fang. She hates the violent turn that they took, yes, but she doesn't hate the members. When she is spying on the White Fang stealing the Schnee Dust Company's dust, she doesn't take action until Roman Torchwick comes into play. She then states that the White Fang would never take orders from a human, and that's what sets her off. Does she feel that the White Fang is kind of abandoning their beliefs in some way by following Roman? Or does she just have some beef with Roman himself for being able to sweet talk the White Fang into being his henchman? It would definitely seem that way due to the fact that Blake has a beef later on with Roman Torchwick in Volume 2. Now in Volume 2, Blake does indeed open up as a character more, and we learn more about her, and she becomes a more likable character due to the fact that she actually talks about her feelings and does all that good stuff that, you know, sit around the campfire, kumbaya, talk about your feelings with your friends kind of stuff. But we also learn that she still wishes to keep her secret about being a faunus and formerly being part of the White Fang. Now, they did go as far as to tell Team Juniper about her being a faunus, and Sun and Neptune know that she is a faunus, but really nobody else does, except for Ozpin. He was able to deduce that from her. But nobody outside of Team RWBY knows that she was a former member of the White Fang, except Sun again. But you get my point. That part of her secret is well kept, due to the fact that she would be considered a criminal and probably kicked out of Beacon if you really think about it. Speaking of Beacon, while Ozpin is interrogating her, he says that she is the only one who didn't go to one of the combat schools and was able to pass the entrance exam for Beacon, to which she replies that she was born outside of the kingdoms, and there you had to fight to survive. But is that the actual truth? behind her backstory. She could very well have been just creating that story, imagining it to, you know, give Ozpin an answer that wouldn't show him that she was a member of the White Fang. Because she did state when she was telling Sun that she was a member of the White Fang ever since she was a child.
I was a member for most of my life, actually. You could almost say I was born into it.
So if you really think about it, she would have been raised pretty much in the faction. As the faction rise to power, she would be raised in that and was probably trained in combat by them. Whether they were outside of the kingdom at the time or inside of the kingdom is up for debate. But the fact of the matter is that she is keeping her secret of being a member of the White Fang close to heart. She is not telling anybody about that. Now in Volume 2, we also see that Blake is paranoid and overreaction and is obsessed with the Roman Torchwick and White Faunus alliance. She's miffed by it. She doesn't understand it. She wishes to understand it and mend it. As she said, the White Fang is a misguided group of Faunus. She doesn't say that they're evil or they're bad, even though she left the White Fang because she did believe that what they were doing was wrong. She still wishes to defend them and maybe even redeem them in some way. And that's why I believe she takes out most of her anger on Roman Torchwick. Not the White Fang itself, but the guy who is running the show. She sees him as the problem, rather than the White Fang itself. Because if we really think about it, the White Fang would have done extreme things. It's just Roman Torchwick was pointing which way to go. He was not the instigator, he was merely the pointer. He pointed them in the way. They were already angry and stuff. So, even though Roman Torchwick is a bad guy, he isn't the core of the problem, as Blake would like to put it. It's also in Volume 2 that we learn, and it is expanded upon, that Blake and Sun are indeed a thing. They are an unofficial couple. They really don't do much with it, but it is pretty much, shown that, like, oh, they have a thing, they go to the dance together, and Sun is definitely trying to woo her in ways. It's just, she was always occupied with, like, oh, I gotta figure out what the White Fang and Torchwick are doing. And will that expand into anything in the future? Oh, you no say, I don't know, but I think it's definitely a very fine match. We also learn about why she truly joined the Huntsman. She wishes to destroy corruption and bring justice back to the world. Probably she wishes to do this in order that she can mold the White Fang back into being peaceful and redeem them, because the White Fang are really giving Faunus in the whole a bad name. So she wishes to mend that and fix that, and becoming a huntress was the main way that she believed that would be achieved. We also learn in Volume 2 that the significance of Blake's semblance is due to the fact that she has always sort of run away from her problem. She's always left an empty copy behind to take the blow as she went on to something else. Well, Blake, you can't run away. You mustn't run away. I will get Evangelion all up in Blake here. If Blake will be Shinji, I will be her Gendo, and I will make sure that she does not run away anymore. Now, some more key things about Blake is in fact her ribbons. She wears ribbons on her head to hide her Faunus cat ears. Now, there have been multiple stages in the series where the bows have twitched, showing that she does indeed have cat ears, but really, the bow, it's quite big. The cat ears are only like, they're really small compared to the overall size of the bow. So, I mean, that's a thing. I just wanted to bring that up. She is indeed the only Faunus on Team RWBY, a cat Faunus at that. And it is shown, maybe due to the fact that she is a cat Faunus, that she does not like dogs. She doesn't really have a very outstanding relationship with Zwei. She doesn't want Zwei to be near her things or be near her at all. Now, will that change later on in the series? Maybe, or maybe it'll just kind of be one of those on-running jokes that happen. Another big thing to talk about with Blake is Adam. Her relationship with Adam. Now, definitely, they had a relationship where they were comrades in arms. Now, if they were something more than that, as in pupil and teacher, lovers, brother and sister, figurative brother and sister, is up for debate and will probably be answered in the next volume due to the fact that Adam is making a return. But until we get more information, the most that we know is that they were comrades and friends in arms. Really quick, I just wanted to state that Blake's pistol gets an upgrade in Volume 2 with specific dust-type rounds, where she can incorporate dust abilities into her clones, her shadow clones, where they either freeze or explode or do any other multitude kind of things. I think that is a definite dust upgrade from Volume 1 to Volume 2, and I would love to see her use it more in future volumes. Now, unfortunately with Blake, due to the fact that the series and the story has kind of revolved around her woes and troubles so much, she's kind of become a bland character. Like, they've squeezed so much out of Blake in the first 2 volumes that it seems like, how else is she gonna grow as a character? I hope that in Volume 3, Blake doesn't have as much as character development as I want other characters to have. I wish she would just kind of take not so much a step back, but a step to the right. As in, making way for somebody else to have more character development, such as RWBY. I mean, Blake definitely should remain growing as a character, but they need to hold off on her developing more due to the fact that it seems more like this show should be called The Blake Show, or Blake's Woes instead of RWBY, because once again, she's kind of taken the forefront spot in what the series revolves around. But still, at the end of the day, Blake is one of those characters that we will always love due to the fact that she is just one of the main characters of the series and one of the most awesome characters I have ever seen. I love Blake as a character, and I hope to see more of her fighting in future volumes. Hey, everybody out there! This is the end slate, so if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and favorite down below. Subscribe, of course, if you feel inclined to. Check out some other videos that I've done. I do a lot of them to entertain you guys, especially those involving RWBY. So, be sure to tune in next time when I talk about Yang, the final member of Team RWBY, and I do a breakdown of her. And until next time, be a good person, tip your waitresses, keep moving forward, and I'll see you guys next time I'm out there in YouTube land. And remember, Blake is indeed Batman. Yeah!